Hi everybody, let's very quickly get started with Angular. Quick start AngularJS. Normally you need to spend some time finding where the AngularJS C template is, which is a really nice starting point, but we have it right here. No need to look anywhere. We can immediately create the entire folder structure with all the files that are typically used in the right places with the right content for working with Angular. We can also immediately deploy it to wherever we like. We'd like to interact with it. We don't have much real estate in the case of the screencast, so we won't deploy it to an external browser. We could deploy to Chrome and then click from Chrome back into the IDE and vice versa, but we're going to use the embedded browser. Now we can see here that this Angular seed comes from a particular file. Let's delete it, it's not so useful. Nice to show that you can do something in a centralized file and that it applies then to all the partials, but we just want to do some fun and games with the basics inside one of these partial files. So all of the work that we're going to do right here. So let's start by adding an input field, and immediately of course we see the input field. So we'll say enter name here. What we're going to do is we want the name that is entered to be available as a variable, and that's what ngModel in Angular lets you do. So we say this is the username. Now we can access the value that the user enters via the variable name that we have defined, which is here username. So now if we use double parentheses, we can inside here, you can see via code completion, get the username. Now let's immediately make this look a little bit better by putting p tags around it, and we switch out of NetBeans inspection mode and we type Henry. Okay, no surprise. So that's data binding in action. So I'll change p to h1 via Control R, both sides at the same time, and we haven't saved it. Need to save it. Type Tom, and we see in h1 our data binding. An interesting thing you can do with data binding is you can also do some basic evaluation. So here we say enter number 1, and here we say enter number 2. So enter number 1, enter number 2. We'll change both of these via Control-Shift-R via block mode from text to number, and we'll change both of these from username to number and make the first one 1 and the second one 2, and then we're going to in here refer to those two variables that we've created. So there's number 1 plus number 2. So we type 2, or well 3, and here we type 2, and it's 5, and you can see that those two are added up together. So that's some very basic and handy data binding that we can do with Angular. The next thing we want to do is use the ngRepeat. So we've used ngModel, so the next thing to look at is ngRepeat and what it can do for us. So here's our view, and directly here we can use ngRepeat. You can see the ngRepeat directive instantiates a template once per item from a collection. So we're going to say one flower in, and this is our collection, all flowers. And we're going to have a JSON object created in our controller, and from that we're going to get the name. So none of this we have yet. Now where is our controller found? So we can see that in our apps file. Look in the apps file, and there's a route provider in the AngularJS C template. For partial 1 points to controller myController1, and very usefully we have a controller JavaScript file set up for us. And here's myController1. So this is the set of functions available to our partial 1 HTML file. So we're going to receive a particular scope, and the scope is all flowers. So here you can see all flowers. So we say scope dot all flowers equals, and what does it equal? So here is our JSON object. So name and quotation marks rows. Save it. Immediately we see rows. So we'll add another one. Second JSON object, Daisy. And we'll add a third one, Tulip. And anywhere in the line to make a semicolon at the end of the line, we press Control and semicolon, and then we have semicolon added. Rose, Daisy, and Tulip. Okay, that's nice. So now let's make a filter function for our flowers. So we add a new text input. We don't need to have anything in there. Don't need to have all of this either. Say ng model, and we say flower search. So filter, so the user knows what this text field is all about. And then we can do this inside the ng repeat. We can say a filter, so a pipe symbol, and then filter, and then say what the model is that we want to connect the two together to. So I now type in R, which is rose, because the others don't have an R. Two of them have an S, so you can see I type S. If I type S and then Y, I only get Daisy. So filter created very easily. Next, let's add new flowers to this list. So I copy this and I move it down with Alt-Shift down, and I say add flower. And when the user adds the flower, we'll say flower name, because that's basically all a flower is to us at this point. It just has a name. And we're also going to have a button, and the button we're going to use the ng click. So this is the AngularJS click is done via the button. So the ng click allows you to specify custom behavior when the element is clicked. So we click here, and what happens? We say add flower. So this is the function that is called. So this needs to be defined in the controller when the user clicks on the button, and we say add flower. So there we have our add flower button. So now we go back to our controller, and we know that we have to define a function. So I'm going to copy this line down, and I'll say here add flower. So this is one flower that's being added, and here we define our new function. So here's function, don't need a name, don't need parameters. So what we're going to do here is say again scope, and then say all flowers, and into the all flowers we're going to push a new JSON object defined from, so here's the name, so it's defined from our scope flower name. So everything being correct, we should see some other flower. So my knowledge of flowers has run out after 3 of them. So here's some other flower, and it works exactly as you would expect. So welcome to AngularJS. Have fun with it.